Hello, my name is Kylene Ruth, and it is my distinct pleasure today to speak with you a little bit about leadership philosophy and the power of feedback. These two topics are things that I'm very passionate about after spending 4 years in Squadron Command and ending my 20-year Air Force career here in the next few months. I'm very excited today to share with you not only my personal experiences, but some themes and things that you can look at and consider as you are developing your own leadership philosophy and as you are leading inside your respective organization. Without further ado, let's start with the general theme of leadership philosophy. A philosophy itself is a system of principles. It provides guidance for daily and practical affairs. Now, as logisticians, we're very familiar with systems. These are plans, procedures, multiple entities working together to accomplish a goal. On the principle side of the house, this may be a method or a particular rule that you have adopted. So as we think in terms of philosophy, your personal leadership philosophy is something that is your plan for success, your plan for your team's success. And it is grounded in principles, rules, methods that are important to you. A good leadership philosophy is going to directly align with your personal principles. If you've only been in the Air Force for 5 years, or you've only been in your current job for a year, you may still be defining what's important to you. It's also possible that you've been doing your job for several years, and over time your experiences have really started to hone in what is important to you. A good leadership philosophy is one that aligns with your personal principles. It's always easiest to lead from a place of being genuine. What is important to you, your personal experiences, perhaps how you were raised. Those things are naturally going to come through in your leadership style. Additionally, a good leadership philosophy communicates your priorities. If you're in charge of an organization or you're driving a team down a path towards a particular goal, you're going to have to prioritize tasks, themes, perhaps even personality traits that you want your teammates to take on. A good leadership philosophy is going to communicate these priorities and make sure that they are clear so that your folks always know what you're looking for. Finally, a good leadership philosophy, it has endurance. It has the ability to survive a pivot. Perhaps that's a mission change, or you have new teammates. Maybe even you have something change in your environment, like a pandemic, and having to move to more virtual communication opportunities. At the end of the day, a good leadership philosophy is going to be something that you will carry throughout your career. You may hone it, you may improve it and alter it slightly based upon the leadership team that you're on, but it is going to be something that is consistent. Once you have that leadership philosophy, you need to think hard about how it is shared. I think the first step is writing it. Writing it down is going to help you understand and really flesh out what is important to you. Many of you taking time to journal or strand your ideas for your leadership philosophy is that first step. And those initial notes that you have will eventually become what you will present to your other folks. So I encourage you to write your leadership philosophy down. What it may ultimately become is a product that you can hang up in your work centers. Perhaps it's a pamphlet that you can hand out to folks when they come into your organization. It may even be something that lends itself to being put on a poster or hung on the walls. In addition to writing it, you also need to speak about it, to communicate in real time and have dialogue about your leadership philosophy. You need to incorporate that with your key leaders, the ones that are on your team. You also need to share it with all of the new members and revisit it often enough that the people that have been in the grind and working through the details don't forget about it. And last but not least, if you're going to share your leadership philosophy effectively, you need to live it. You need to be the model for that example and that change. You need to consistently Tie how you perform and the priorities that you have inside your organization back to that leadership philosophy. That type of strategic communication and consistency in your messaging as a leader will set you up for success as you move forward. What I'd like to do at this time to sort of drive it home is share with you my personal leadership philosophy. It is just one example, and it fits all on one slide, but it's something that I used over and over again as not only a squadron commander, but as an officer in mentoring and leading other people. As you can see, it's not a whole lot of words, and I also tied pictures. As a maintainer, I thought it was important to have something that gathered attention, something that would perhaps strike a memory or an emotion in people to try and link them up to what our leadership philosophy is. And as I step through this a little bit, you'll get to see why and how I designed it as such. In general, my leadership philosophy started approximately 10 years ago. I first created my leadership philosophy when I was a major. I took some time prior to my promotion to think about what I wanted to do as a leader, the type of leader that I wanted to be, and the things that I valued about all of the previous leaders I had worked for to that point in my career. At the end of the day, I defined it as success. And I truly felt that success in any entity, in any organization, required investment from its members. I thought success required investment in yourself and others around you, and in your unit. To take a moment to explain this further, investment in yourself has multiple facets. The first one is investment in relationships. You can see to the right the picture of the gentleman holding his baby. Now, I'm a mom and a wife, and at the time in my career, we were just starting to do paternity leave. It was just starting to become socially acceptable for men and women to prioritize having a family and trying to harmonize and balance that in life. And I really wanted to drive home the point that you have to make sure that you are sound, that your relationships, whether they be children, spouses, parents, friends, were things that you had to invest in. You had to make time for them so that you could be successful in all that you do on and off duty. Additionally, you need to invest in your education, in your professional development. Your entity or the Air Force may provide you mandatory training opportunities, but there are other things that you can seek out to go above and beyond and become skilled in that endeavor. And then last but not least, fitness is important to me, not just physical fitness, but mental and emotional fitness, the ability to be resilient, to have endurance, to be able to sleep well and present yourself in its greatest version at the start of the day. Those were things that I think had to come first. You have to invest in yourself so that you can be there for others. There's multiple ways you can be there for others. As a former athlete, what resonates the most with me is being on a team. You may have different skill sets, but you work together to be successful. On that team, there's going to be people that know things that you don't know, and you are going to know things that you can pass on to others. Teaching and improving each other's skills is vital. Above and beyond the basic tasks that you accomplish, investing in others is a willingness to be open for mentorship, to encourage personal and professional development in those around you, and to make sure that you're encouraging them to their own greatness and their own investment in themselves. And then last but not least, investing in the unit, in the organization at which you are a part of. That may be ensuring that you have standard processes. That may be purchasing the right tools and resources to be successful. And most importantly, that's making your workplace and the team organization itself be somewhere that people want to be. They want to attend your organization. They want to go to barbecues. They want their family to be there. The reality is, in the military, we spend more hours in our workplace. We spend more hours with the folks that we work with than we do with our personal relationships and friends. So we want to make it a place that people want to come to work every day. Above and beyond investing in you, yourself, others in the unit, I feel that there were a couple of key principles that were necessary. The first one was integrity. Integrity, I think, is the cornerstone to everything that we do. It helps build trust and it ensures that we accomplish mission effectiveness. It is the one thing that we cannot afford to have any lapse in, and therefore it was what I covered first as my overarching requirement. Additionally, and this goes hand in hand with feedback, which we will discuss later, in order for your team to be successful, you have to be able to authentically communicate. Sometimes that means calling the baby ugly. Other times that means going out of your way to share and express appreciation for somebody that is doing something that others may see as just their job. That ability to communicate with each other helps build trust and a relationship that in the end will make you stronger as a team. Respect is a given. It's something that we have struggled with, but continue to grow inside the military. And we are getting smarter about understanding where people come from. We must continue to show respect to each other's backgrounds, their strengths, and their desires as we move forward. The ability to improve as an organization really requires its members to be humble. Having a sense of humility opens you up as an individual to feedback. It opens you up to people that want to invest in you, and your willingness to change and grow is something that will be good for you and for the organization. Finally, as a leader of an organization that involved a hierarchy of rank, it involved people of different specialties, different strengths, I felt it was important for us to have passion for people, pure humanism. The desire to want the others around you to be successful, to want them to achieve their greatness. That passion for people is purpose behind that emotion, behind the feelings that you want people to have when they are part of your team. And last but not least, a spirit of innovation. In order for us to be successful in our primary missions, we needed to continue to evolve. We needed to constantly look for ways that we could innovate to save time, to improve quality of life, and to make us more effective at the end of the day. Now, these concepts were very basic, but they were things that I touched on over and over again. I had it written in my newcomers briefings, which could be found on SharePoint and were posted in places throughout the work center. I would consistently speak it, not only at welcome briefs, but in commanders' calls, in quarterly discussions where we would try and tie back to what we were accomplishing in the organization. And last but not least, my leadership team and I tried to live it, tried to consistently represent what our philosophy was as we walked around and communicated with our airmen and communicated with our senior folks of our organization so that they understood where our unit was going and what was important to us. Once you have crafted your leadership philosophy and sat down with your team to discuss how you are going to execute it inside your organization, it is important that you spend time discussing feedback. It is my personal belief that in order to be good at giving feedback, you must first be good at receiving feedback. And this is very important as you step into a new organization and are trying to learn more about it and the people that you have on your team. When you are considering receiving feedback, I ask that you first look at yourself. Your degree of transparency in decision-making and the processes and procedures that you follow as a leader is very important. If you don't let people see behind the green curtain, the ways that you accomplish your duties and make decisions, you are hiding an avenue, an aspect of your daily operations from those who may be able to help you. Being transparent, open with your inner circle, and even sharing your thoughts and ideas and how you got to a decision with your subordinates is an effective way to let others offer feedback and perspective on your actions as a leader. In addition to being transparent, I think you must also consider the medium or the venue that you are using to receive feedback. Some people feel very comfortable in a room of 20 people of varying ranks and positions offering their thoughts and feedback. Other people do not feel comfortable being singled out. They would prefer to be able to write down their feedback or to think about it and then shoot you an email later. I think you also must take into consideration what types of folks are in the room. Some people speak truth to power very comfortably. Other people are fearful of repercussions and how that may be perceived. One of my favorite things as a commander was chatting with airmen. lower ranking ones, because they had no filter. They were so excited that you were asking their inputs and wanted to hear their thoughts. As we moved up the chain, I think that there were times where there were concerns of NCOs and senior NCOs not wanting to be critical of leadership in different venues and being fearful that they followed the chain of command to offer their feedback. There's absolutely a time and place for this type of dialogue, but there's also a time and place for you to divide into different groups, into smaller size groups, to allow for quality discussion and communication. Finally, I think you need to consider the frequency at which you are seeking feedback. From your inner circle, you're probably going to get feedback more often. You're going to be able to build that relationship where they feel comfortable popping their head into your office or reaching out to you on the telephone and giving you feedback on something that happened. There's other folks that it may make more sense to connect with them monthly or perhaps quarterly, or even annually as you work through your normal survey cycle internal to your organization. Depending upon what you're asking for feedback on, I ask that you take time to consider the frequency. You also must consider that you have to show action and improvement if you want people to continue to give you feedback. Feedback is most powerful when you are actually open to listening and hearing and taking action based upon the feedback that you've been given. Additionally, feedback is very powerful when it is tailored to you as an individual. As I stated earlier, you have to be transparent. Share with those who are closest to you your strengths and weaknesses. It's going to help you all work together as a team. It will afford those folks an opportunity to invest in you so that you can more effectively improve. Finally, you need to make sure that the feedback you have is coming from diverse perspectives. It is natural to want to reach out to people that think like you do. What I would encourage you to do is to make sure that you have feedback coming from multiple angles, multiple people, people that are like you, people that have strengths that you do not have, people that are critical, people that are emotionally happy, and as well as ones that are perhaps frustrated at work. You're going to get a different type of feedback from all, and all those inputs are going to be valuable to you as you continue to grow as a personal leader and your leadership team continues to improve in their primary skills. So the first step, again, is to be open to receiving feedback, to create an environment where people want to share their thoughts with you. Once you have shown your willingness to receive feedback, you've internalized how you personally feel. You understand what it's like to receive that feedback. And ultimately, I think those skills are what will make you better at giving feedback. Giving feedback requires a different set of considerations. The first consideration should be why you are giving feedback. Make sure that it is rooted honestly in what is important to you, that it is tied to you and your organization's leadership philosophy, and that it is truly given in a spirit of trying to improve the individuals and the teams around you. One of my favorite first sergeants used to say, "I love you enough to tell you the truth." And I think that that's a fantastic way to look at feedback internal to your organizations. In addition to why you're giving feedback, take into consideration who the receiver is and your relationship to that person. Perhaps it's an individual that is your peer. Perhaps it's an individual that you work for, or somebody that is the lowest ranking person in your organization. You need to consider the position that you are in and deliberately shape your message in a way that the receiver is going to want to hear your feedback. If you're giving feedback to a team or an organization, take a moment to consider what their priorities are, what their mission is, what they stand for and are trying to do, and give them feedback based upon their goals and mission sets, not necessarily what you think they should be doing as you interact with them. Finally, consider the environment. We've all heard the phrase praise in public and critique in private, but I think you can also consider other things in your environmental determination. When you are in a firefight is not a great time to pause and give a lot of feedback. Perhaps at the end of a day, after a very, very busy workload, you or others you're communicating with may be less likely to want to receive that feedback. So overarchingly consider not only physically where you are, but the time of day. Perhaps the receiver themselves. Are they fatigued? Are they overwhelmed? Are they excited? Are they in a spirit of innovation where they are excited to make change and open to your feedback? All of those environmental factors can contribute to the success of delivering feedback. I believe feedback is most powerful when it comes from a personal position of credibility. You may not have done the exact tasks or skills of the people that you are providing feedback to, but it is your job to educate yourself on what you need to communicate with and give them feedback for. Make sure that you are credible as a leader, not only in what you do for a living, but in generally taking care of people. Feedback is also powerful if it is actionable. You cannot talk to a supervisor and simply say, you're doing a poor job developing those who work for you. It's too vague. That is not actionable. A more effective discussion would be to say, I've looked at your numbers and I see that it is taking your subordinates longer to get qualified in their duties than others. Can we talk through why you think that may be occurring, and perhaps we can come up with some resources that we can apply? Or you may say, I've noticed that those inside your work center are not progressing and promoting similar to others. Do you think that there are things that we can work on together to allow you to continue to develop your subordinates? Those things are actionable. They're based in fact, and they can slowly help you and the member you're giving feedback craft a plan on what you can do to improve. At the end of the day, feedback is most powerful when you remember that it is about the recipient. It is not about you. You need to make sure that feedback is offered in a fashion that is going to help them improve. You need to ensure that it is in an environment that will contribute to their success. And you need to realize that feedback is not a one-time good deal. Often it's going to be the start of a dialogue that you'll be able to revisit in time as they take actions to improve and continue on. Now, I also think it's important to talk about the fact that feedback does not always have to be negative. We need to spend just as much time providing positive feedback as possible, not only to build up and give people confidence, but to encourage them to continue to do the great work that they are already doing. On any given day as the leader, you only have so much time. Providing positive feedback further drives home the importance of investing in those skills and continuing to do the things that are resulting in your personal and organizational success. Again, do not forget that feedback is not always negative. There should be a great balance between positive and negative feedback when you're dialoguing with people. Putting all of these things together, I think you can take the leadership philosophy example that I gave, where success requires investment in yourself, others, and the unit. That path where we are going is a road. And I would argue that that road, when paved with feedback, allows you to travel faster, allows it to be clearer for those that are in your organization. If you want to achieve your goals for your organization or your personal goals as part of your philosophy, you need to assess feedback in multiple ways. When you're investing in yourself, I encourage you to accomplish personal reflection. Maybe it occurs on your drive home. Perhaps it's what you think about on your morning run. But take time to debrief yourself daily on how things went and what you can continue to do or do better tomorrow. There's also something out there called 360-degree feedback. That's another great way to invest in yourself as a leader. Talk to those that you work for, those that you work with, and those who work for you, and ask them to give you feedback on the things that are important to you, on your priorities, on your performance. All of them will offer diverse and different perspectives and ways for you to improve as a leader. Finally, when given the opportunity, and this opportunity exists as a commander, seek anonymous feedback. That may be through a survey, that may be through a Dropbox, that may be a phone number that people can text. There's a variety of ways to do that. But don't be afraid to create a venue where people can anonymously give you feedback. You may be surprised at what people are willing to say when they aren't concerned about rank structure, future identification, or, quite frankly, having to give a bunch of examples and details. Often the anonymous feedback that I've received, I've been able to take, deliberately ask questions of those who I trust in my circle, and get more detailed information that all started with that initial anonymous input on something we needed to improve. Feedback in terms of investing in others really is encouraging you to understand people personally, know what their background is, know what their interests are, understand their goals, and then invest in them based upon those three things. Often you will sit down for career counseling, and sometimes you'll have supervisors that want to draw you a map based upon what worked for them. This type of feedback and investment in others is building and crafting that plan based upon what's best for the member, what they want to do. And you can create an environment where people are willing to share those things and more specifically align their opportunities and their feedback to something that will benefit them. As I mentioned previously, in order to effectively invest in others, you have to communicate authentically. Share with them how you feel, encourage them. Don't be afraid to challenge them or be an accountability partner if that's what they request. But authentically engage in those relationships, not just transactional, but truly transformational in how you interact with the people that are on your team. And finally, feedback in the unit. As I previously mentioned, climate surveys, safety surveys, SurveyMonkey, there is a variety of ways that you can deliberately go out into your organization and seek feedback. I challenge you to align survey questions with your leadership philosophy, with the priorities in your organization, and truly afford people an opportunity to assess how the unit is performing. When you have finished those surveys, it is vital that you make sure you take that feedback and present it back to the members so that they understood that it was heard. And then you need to build action teams. You need to deliberately assign opportunities for people to go get after what needs to be fixed and to continue to reinforce and resource the things that are going well. Idea boxes are something that many organizations have used with success. Again, if you're going to use an idea box, very important to make sure that people know that you have read and received their ideas and you either follow up with them or specifically take action in a way that they feel heard. And finally, town halls, commanders' calls, perhaps monthly or quarterly business meetings. These are other very important ways that you can not only solicit feedback on how your unit is performing, but you can also provide feedback, a state of the union, if you will, on how your organization is performing and achieving their goals. All of these things tied together, effective feedback, as well as a directive for your organization, or how you will be successful as a leader and how you will help lead those around you as well as your organization. My closing thought for you all today really has to do with the environment that we live in. We have seen change in where we are fighting wars. We have seen changes in the types of wars that we are fighting. We have seen changes in the skill sets and the talents of the members of our team and the technology and mediums available for us to perform our missions. I truly feel that a group of people with a shared focus, a growth mindset, an active feedback loop can endure any mission, organizational design, or environmental change. It is important for you as a leader to sit down and decide what is your leadership philosophy and to effectively seek and provide feedback to make sure that you, those around you, and your organizations are successful. Thank you.